Hello everybody and welcome to the GPVWC Formula Challenge for round 13. Today we're here from the French circuit of Magny Cours. My name's Liam Jenkins and with me to call all the action today is Lee Morris. And Lee, 3 minutes to go in qualifying and this session's been quite unpredictable, really.
Yeah, it's a topsy-turvy grid as usual in Formula Challenge. It's the complete opposite of Spa almost. I mean, there's usual names up there like Gaxella and Fiddick, but there's people behind who I've never even heard of before, so we've got a very mixed up grid once again.
Yeah, we've got currently the smarty car of Hansco Mebius, who's currently leading the fight for pole position in front of championship leader Emmanuel Gaxella, who his lead took a little bit of a chunk taken out of at Spa, but still has a mighty lead over the rest of the field. We've got Dewey Tapper, their P4 newcomer, and Formula Sim Racing World Championship driver Jonas Simončić. He joins today for Edonis Racing. We've got Scurry Canturn in there as well, his teammate. Gaia, Florian Gaia, I believe that's his first race for Multi 21. Carlos Lopez, again another new name showing up there for Positive Sim Racing. Jack Nichols, a familiar name there, just outside the top 10 with Ben Roran alongside him. Matt Clip P11 and Mike Schroten currently rounding out the top 10. But with a circuit like this, I mean, I'm just going to make this before we head into warm-up. We've got around 40 drivers today, and a circuit as tight as this really is going to be a case of trying to be more conservative than aggressive, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just to point out, did you just say Mebius was on pole?
He was provisionally, and then he's gone. Has my timing screwed up again?
Yeah, I would say I don't know if it was my end or your end, but just making sure on that one, because the Smarty car is certainly not fastest on mine, so... although it would be nice, because it is a very nice car, as we did go on about quite a lot in Spa, but yeah, you've got to concentrate around this circuit a hell of a lot. Honestly, I can't believe how difficult this track is. I've been driving it all week for the Super League, and it's very difficult. Every corner is a challenge, and that's no lie. You know, not just saying that to sort of beef it up as such, but every corner is a tough corner on this circuit.
It is indeed, and you can already tell the drivers that are trying to master that as well. And as my timing seems to have corrected now, which means Mebius is down in 17th position and not the original first place where we thought. The man currently who is first going into the final 2 minutes or so of this session is Dave Fiddick. We've got Gaxella second and then Simončić in third. There's a bit of a move there as McNaughton sits in P5. We've got Sven de Vries there up to P6. So a lot of drivers trying to get those last laps in, but this circuit's so tight as well, and traffic's going to really be an issue in this final minute and a half.
Yeah, I mean, you can see a lot of drivers coming through the final few corners now, just trying to find some, a gap as such. The circuit itself is actually quite long in some respects. It just feels shorter for some reason. It's not one of the shortest on the calendar as such. Quite a lot of corners to it as well. But I think it's because of the long straights that it has. It obviously makes it feel shorter, and finding room, especially when we've got 42, 40, maybe even more actually, 43 drivers on the grid, all trying to find a lap time. It's so close as well, I've noticed. I mean, the top 27 are covered by 1.7 seconds, which is very, very close.
It is indeed, and talking about traffic as well, McNaughton has just taken a clobbering, and unfortunately I believe that could well be his qualifying session coming to a halt. He's stopped on the circuit, he's got no front wing, and unfortunately for the Storm Racing driver, that's about as far as he's going to get in this final 40 seconds of qualifying. So the question is, who can capitalise on that, or will anyone else suffer the same fate? We've got a few drivers behind, all on lap times. Canton and De Vries, we've got Gaia there, just moving up into P5 as he streams down in towards our first corner. So a lot of drivers improving, but again, traffic's a key. We've got Gaxella now stuck behind Yakonen, just about gets through the 22nd position man at the moment into that tight hairpin. But you've got to wonder, if Gaxella wants pole position, navigating traffic is not going to be the way to do it.
Right, well, Fiddick's just spun on his final run, so it's down to Gaxella now if he can take this pole position. As you just pointed out, he did get stuck behind him in some respects and had to take the inside line in a hairpin, but he also got a massive slipstream down the back straight, and that's given him a 10th and a half in Sector 1. But the problem is, has he been able to maintain it with that blockage from the back marker? So obviously, I mean, he's got more traffic as well, managed to get out of the way, but is he still up on Fiddick's time? Yes, he is, look at that. Well, hopefully I'm seeing the right splits, but on my split he's nearly half a second up on his own time. That could be wrong though, because that seems a bit extreme, but he's still up on my screen on Fiddick, so we'll see when he gets to the start-finish line. Now coming through the final two corners. This one's not too bad, just keep it nice and tidy and tight, but this is a horrendous corner. You can't click the curbs too hard, otherwise you just end up in the wall on the outside. It's very difficult and tricky. Let's see, it comes across the line, he takes it! Wow, by a 10th of a second, so the slipstream certainly helped Gaxella there. That was awesome from Gaxella there.
Yeah, it was, and that kind of curse turned into a blessing in the end of him. He got it by a 10th of a second I think all the other drivers have just about wrapped up their qualifying session, the remainder of them flying through that final corner, a couple of them ducking back into the pit lane after kind of all hope being abandoned there. We've still got De Vries out there, who's going okay at the moment. He's about on a 59.7 going in towards, so I don't think he's going to be anywhere near as he gets into Sector 2. It won't be an improvement, I don't think. He was down on his personal best. No, he's not. He's 7/10 off the leader. Let's see if there's any changes a bit further down the field. I think that for the most part, drivers have decided to call it a day, and I don't blame them. It's a very difficult circuit to qualify on. So as he add to the warm-up session, then it's going to be a Gagzella pole position again. He just cannot stop this run of pole positions as he slowly navigates his way to the pit lane, getting some cheeky camera time. But he's done a very good job here today. A 1/10 of a second up on Dave Fiddick. But I think for this circuit in particular, just because you qualify on pole, it does not mean necessarily you're going to come away with a win.
Definitely. I mean, it would be an advantage early on, as it always is at any circuit, and obviously places like Monaco favour the pole position man, tremendously. But this track, not so much. There are plenty of overtaking places in some respects, especially in the Formula Challenge cars, because the less speed you carry in through the high-speed chicanes, the less dirty air comes off, and so on. So it basically adds up to quite a lot of overtaking spots at this circuit. Plus, with the amount of mistakes we'll probably see in the race, because it's not necessarily because the drivers are driving badly, it's just because the circuit's so difficult. We could see a lot of mistakes, especially in this final chicane. And I think that's one area we need to highlight, Liam, is that final chicane at the end of the first lap. We've got to watch out what happens there, because I can see maybe even a red flag at the end of lap 1, because if someone hits the outside wall, it's going to launch them straight back into the track, and it's just going to be sheer carnage. So we need to look out for that, definitely.
We saw it a couple of times in qualifying as well, drivers really struggling to be able to get the power down, because the thing is with that corner as well, it's not just the nature, it's the temptation. You come through, maybe you're not on a personal best, and what you want to do, obviously, come out the final corner, get that power on as soon as you can to get yourself in the best run down the main straight. It tempts you so much to put it on earlier, but the earlier you do it, the more of a risk you run hitting that final corner wall. And if you do that side by side with another car, then only God knows what's going to happen. It really is a devilish corner in every sense of the word.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree with that. I mean, one thing I have found this week, and I was really struggling with that corner, I don't mind admitting this, and people might have been watching my stream through the week on Twitch, I was really struggling with the actual final chicane badly. I was like half a second down on Lewis Redshaw this week in the sectors, and I couldn't understand why. And today I've been trying some things, and I found, which might help the Formula Challenge drivers as well, if anyone's listening, I found that if you try and take the first curb and use, just ignore the second one, if you use the first one as a sort of a marker, you can get your foot down earlier on the throttle and get out the final corner a bit better. Whereas if you try and hit both, I found I was in the wall every time. So hopefully I haven't given too much away there. But definitely, if you can hit the first curb on the final chicane, it definitely helps you with the lap time if you can sort of settle the car down and get on the throttle. But it's mainly it's like luck in some respects if you actually make it through the chicane alive as such, because the final corner, you can lose so much in it. I mean, like I say, up to half a second just in that one corner. So the drivers really have to, in qualifying especially, you can take the risk, but in the race, I'd side on caution.
I think, honestly, at this stage in the season as well, I think this is the perfect placement for this circuit, because if you have it in round 1, then you may get the odd fluky result or so, but at this stage, every driver is trying to get their championship drive back underway, not necessarily to win it or to get a top 5 or top 10, but their own personal goals, to get themselves up there, to make an impact in these final few races, to, say to the teams in the Super Cup and the Super League, look, I'm still here, I'm still ready for a drive next season, I can do this. With a track like this, which tempts you, as we said so many times, to take more curbs, to put the throttle down earlier, with a circuit which can throw up as many unpredictable results as you can imagine, it's going to mean the drivers are going to take one of two approaches. One, they're going to protect their championship, like somewhat maybe a constructors, or maybe if you're just in front of one of your rivals, you want to try and keep your car there. Or they're going to go on the all-out assault with nothing to lose, and maybe that's going to end one of two ways. So this really is the perfect time in the calendar, I think, for a circuit of this nature.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if we look at our championship protagonists, Fiddick and Gagzella, obviously them two, for that final chicane in the race, will tend maybe especially Gagzella more, because he's got more to lose in some respects. Fiddick will have to take the risk if he's behind Gagzella, which he is currently on the grid, because he's got to finish in front of him, basically, hasn't he, to maintain this championship battle, because we are running out of races now. And so Gagzella might be a bit more cautious through that chicane, and then you obviously get down to the midfield guys who will just be going hell for leather over that chicane just to try and make up any tenth of a second they can. And I think that might also explain why, considering like Spa, it was like a 3-second gap to something like 15th place or something like that. At this track, it was like 1.5 seconds, let's say, to the top 25, which is extremely close. And it is a difficult circuit, so that has surprised me in some respects that the grid is so close, because usually on harder tracks, you get more field spread.
Yeah, definitely. Looking already as the first set of times in the warm-up session come through. Top 5 are separated by barely anything, well, with the exception of Ollie Woods, who's 1.8 seconds off. The top 4, 0.3 of a second, and in a warm-up session where we're not too sure what SERPs you run in or if they're going to put the full race fuel in, anything like that, this isn't really a session which is credible in terms of sheer pace. You can't really say, okay, Carlos Lopez is the man currently, he's going to be a protagonist in the race. But it does give you a good idea as to where the drivers currently are. There wasn't that much time separating them at all as the first set of times came in.
Yeah, the first set of times, obviously, like you say as well, and I'm sure you know this as well, you've got to be careful of, because, as you say, I mean, people, go out on track. It's very crowded out there at the moment as well. I think half the field's out, so you might get traffic. Lopez was 10th, I believe, in qualifying, so he's relatively quick. But we know that there'll be another second or so come off that lap time by Fidek and Gaxella, I would have thought, if they actually go out, that is. And they might, anything could have happened on the first lap. Plus, it's slightly cloudy as well, which I'm just wondering if we're going to get any rain today. I know it's a low chance of rain for this circuit, so fingers crossed we'll get a dry race today, because I think rain could add, well, just basically make this track twice as difficult.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I think that's a bit of an understatement. If rain came down mid-race and it came down quite heavily, then I think I'd probably lose my voice box. This race would turn into mayhem, and there's no guarantee, who's going to come out on top. And a race like this, with those sort of factors, could really change a championship. If Gaxella makes an error, if Gaxella doesn't finish, and those keep continue. I know it didn't exactly have his strongest weekend. He came back leaps and bounds in the second race, but at the first race at Spa, he was under big stress from Dave Fiddick, who got himself a massive result to take some points out. Now, as it stands, you would need a good run of those from now to the end of the season, any chance of actually claiming that championship. But as when you've got that mindset where you haven't had your strongest race, you are struggling, you're not necessarily 2-3 tenths faster than your main championship contender, the possibility of an error could come up maybe a bit more quicker than we think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anyone can make mistakes, no matter who you are, how good you are. If you pressure can do amazing things to people. One minute you could be in perfect harmony with the car and the track, and then someone puts a bit of pressure on you, and all of a sudden every curb, every corner seems more difficult, and that's what pressure can do. So I mean, Gaxella, we saw in Spa, even though he had a disaster race 1, his race 2 was pretty much perfect, and that was a sign of a good driver, a true champion, and someone who's deserved to win the championship, because to come back from the race 1 disappointment and get on top of it and do what he did in race 2 was pretty awesome. And I know Gaxella from many years ago. I've raced against him. I know his the calibre with which he can drive it, and I also know Fiddick only from relatively the last few years though, and they're both top-notch drivers in some respects. But looking at this track and what could happen here, anyone could retire. Gaxella could get a curb wrong and that's it. It could be in the wall. I did try to look at the championship standings a minute ago, actually. That's why I went slightly off topic with that. But unfortunately, I can't find them out at the moment. So if someone could find out the championship standings for us, that would be absolutely superb, because I know there's still a big gap, like you say, between the top 2.
Yeah, and also just thinking that obviously it's going to be Gaxella starting on pole. We've got Fiddick sat behind him in P2. But what's more interesting to me is that if Fiddick can stay close enough through the opening few corners, get himself a run going in towards the Adelaide hairpin at turn 5, he's got a great chance of pulling up the inside as long as he's in the slipstream. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, actually, if Gaxella maybe let him through in the opening couple corners just to get that slipstream and get in front for turn 5.
Well, this is what we saw at Spa, wasn't it? I'm not quite sure who it was. I think it was the standing driver. Oh, was it Cantonen? It was Cantonen, wasn't it? Cantonen took the pole, and we were discussing whether he would let Gaxella and Fiddick or whoever was behind him passed into turn 1. He actually did that, I think, and got a good slipstream back down the next straight. So it is a possibility. It is a very long straight. I don't know on this circuit though. I mean, turn 1 there'll be a lot of dirty air following a car through there. It's not like La Source where it's a straight, point and shoot corner. I'm not quite sure what the tactics would be this circuit. The only thing I'd like to be is out front on lap 1 in this circuit, because if you're anywhere, say 8th, 9th, 10th, and someone goes into that wall in the final corner, you're going nowhere. You're going to hit them, and that's it. Your race is over. So I definitely want to be as high up, and that's what Gaxella's done. He's putting the storm in last lap while having to overtake someone. Don't forget, that's the main thing on his hot lap. He actually had to overtake a car to put that lap on the actual car on pole. So he's looking very good for this track.
Yeah, definitely. And taking a look as well, we've just received an update here from driver of Jonathan Ockerclent, who said the reason for him not setting a qualifying time is that he crashed at the fast chicane, totaled the car, had the wrong setup loaded, which again at this circuit is crucial. You need such a perfect setup if you want to get a good lap at this circuit, and if something like that happens during the race or a driver does not load the correct setup, then they're going to be some big problems for them.
Yeah, I mean, if it can happen in qualifying probably more than in the race in some respects, because in qualifying obviously you're pushing a lot harder and so on, whereas in the race you tend to take it a bit easier. I'm just looking at the championship standings now. Thank you to Lewis Redshaw for passing these to us. The actual gap between first and second is 114 points, so it is quite a lot. One thing I didn't realise is that Fidek didn't race in the first 2 rounds, which meant 4 races that he missed. In which time Gaxella got 2 firsts, a third and a 7th, so that's at least what 70-80 of them points. So the championship could actually be a lot closer if we'd have had two protagonists from the very start. But Gaxella is only retired from 1 race, and I think he's been excluded from 1 by the looks of it. But that's a pretty awesome record Gaxella's got there. But looking at Fidek, this is just as impressive since he joined as well. He's had the same consistency. So they're both very very equal drivers and very competent drivers in that respect. So yeah, big championship gap though for Fidek to make up. So he can basically just do whatever he wants, can't he? He can go out there and just push as hard as he can.
I mean, can you think at the moment then, I know it's going towards the end of the season, a few teams perhaps in the bigger divisions maybe looking at the possibility of another driver. Is Emmanuel Gaxella going to be on a few people's target lists?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like I say, Gaxella, he used to be in a league I raced in many years ago. And I thought I was like, the fastest at that point in that league, and then he came in and sort of blitzed my time on one of the sessions. I remember he came in, I had to work like 20 times harder then to work out where I was losing the time. So he definitely, showed me a thing or two in the past. He's a very respectable and quick driver. But look at Fidek, for example, last week in the Super League. He did the Formula Challenge, and then he was racing against me at Spa in the Super League car from Midnight, who wanted to test him out, see what he could do. So definitely it's that time of year where people, they look at the drivers and think, oh look, Fidek's doing well in that, let's give him a run at in one of the other leagues and see what he can do. And apart from the spin, he would have probably got on the podium in the Super League, so he's definitely capable of podiums in Super League given the right car and team. And I would definitely say the same about Gaxella. I reckon he could quite easily go into the Super League and win races. He's that sort of good driver.
Yeah, definitely. So you can see already, if you look to the sky, it's not looking too promising. The clouds are out in full force, and the drivers, I'm sure, will be very wary of that. And there you can see the qualifying times then, so the drivers about to set off on their warm-up laps in just a moment and make sure they get all the necessary heat into those brakes and tyres as soon as possible. And the good thing about this circuit is it's a relatively short pit straight, so the guys at the front of the field aren't going to be struggling as much a circuit as you would say Hungary or somewhere like that, where it's such a long run. By the time you've heated them all up, all that heat's going to go by the time the 40 drivers hit the back of the field. But at the moment, for some reason Gagzella's down in P6, so Gagzella, I'm not too sure what's going on there. Is that an error on my timing screen, or is that...
It'll be a penalty, I would have thought. Just one thing I wanted to say, Liam, I don't know if you can see the back of the grid, Jonathan Acerclinth in 42nd position. He actually starts in the second to last corner. The grid is that big, he actually starts the race in the second to last corner. How on earth are the back, say, 10 cars going to actually see the start lights? Because the pit lane's in the way. So I'm not quite sure. That's insane. I mean, if you get a chance when the grid lines up, Liam, take a look, and the rest of the guys that are watching, that is pretty funny actually.
Okay, so we just found out that the reason for Gagzella starting in 6th then is that he does have a penalty for an incident in race number 2. Now again, this could be crucial for the championship. This isn't essentially a write-off. Yes, Gagzella, as you say, he's got that 2-round advantage, 4-race advantage over David Fidek. But as long as Fidek keeps chipping away at that lead, he starts out in front of, he can get a good run in front of both Ed and his engineering cars. I don't know, I think Gagzella's going to have his work cut out for him today. He's got some young talent coming up in front of him. He's got a circuit which demands the utmost out of every single driver, and one where the unpredictability of the weather, as I say now, it's just gone blue sky, that's how unpredictable it is, but final that with the amount of consistency you need for these corners, drivers struggling through all 3 sessions today, I don't think this is going to be an easy straight up to podium for Emmanuel Gagzella.
No, definitely not. And like I say, there's drivers in there. We're trying to push as hard as they can. And he's now in a position where he could come through that final corner on the first lap, and there could be a big accident. He could be involved. Fiddick needs to slow the field down here because he's now coming into the final corner, and the rear cars are just going through the middle sector. So there's a huge field spread. So we're going to be a long time before the field lines up here. And again, watch out for that final corner where the cars start, because that is very good. The field is so big that the pit straight's not long enough for the entire field. So the guys at the back, they might find themselves quite far behind by the time we get to turn 1, because they've got to negotiate a chicane before they can get going. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, the final few cars are about to come through the final corner now.
I was going to say, just looking at the size of the field as well, I think is the word for it. The only issue is as well, that first corner, it's the last corner, but going through that chicane before you get to the pit straight is going to be crucial for these guys. If there's a pile up and a few cars don't get away well, they're going to go in blind and have to struggle. But as we take a look back then towards the front of the field, with the majority of the drivers lined up, then we now await the arrival of those red lights. So now Fiddick stares at them. He's got 4 red lights, now we have 5, the engines start to roar, and now we have a race at Magny Cours, and a great start there by the 2 Edness Engineering, but an even better one by David Fiddick as they stream down to the first corner. Take a look at Dewey Tapper as well, who's already overtaken one of the Edness cars. He's got back through again. Gagzella's still there, P5. There's a field make their way through. It's looking like a relatively clean start this far.
Few cars off in the back though, Sarpilla Lopez, James Kirk's also off in the background, but not as many as say Spa race 1 where it was like Spa 98. But coming down to the Adelaide hairpin now, there's cars going 4 wide. This is going to be insane. Surely we're going to see some accidents into the chicane, into the hairpin, sorry. But so far they've kept it very clean, very clean, and yes, we've got through it all with all cars. So pretty awesome work there from the entire field.
I think Matt Richards took a bit of a nudge there in P21, but nothing really that's going to halt his progress as such. As they go through this chicane, it's a Simic off in the background there. Now, who does that belong to? That's quite key, because his teammate of course will be David Fiddick, so the second Simic is going to be in a little bit of a tricky scenario at this stage. He's got himself all the way down to P20 there, and that's Ben Warren, so not a good start for the Brit at all. Jack Nichols, who he started behind, those two stayed together in 19th and 20th, but not a great start, and he's gone off again. Ben Warren is struggling today.
Yeah, Gagzella's trying to make a move as well down into the final chicane, and he's got down the inside of Simonchik. Simonchik tries to brake later, and they make contact, slight bit of contact there, and Gagzella manages to get through with a bit of contact. I think that was Simonchik more turning in, but safely through the final chicane, and Gagzella up to 3rd already, so looking very potent in this race already.
Yeah, McNaughton's had a bit of a moment now. This is the all-important final corner. Let's just take a look and see who the field... who, if any of the field, in fact, take a nudge and look at there. 3 wide there. That's Jeff Cable alongside Adrian McNaughton and Daniel Beck, and they all kind of backed out then, and you don't blame them at all. 3 wide through turn 1 would be absolutely ludicrous, but somehow they all make it stick, and only a few cars coming into the pit lane. Ryuki Sarpia being one, Kirk being another, Fran Lopez, Paul Joseph, I think that's Joshua Anderson back in P41, and Davey Benham again, not had a successful race following on from the dull run at Spa. He pulls into the pit lane from P42, but take a look back at the very forefront of the field at the moment. Still, it's Dave Fiddick that leads. Still, more importantly, in P2 now is Cantona, with Gagzella in 3rd place. So Gagzella's dispersed the 2 Edness Engineering cars, well, one of them at least, and got himself a little bit of a sandwich at the moment as he tries to focus his attention on Cantonen.
Indeed, he's going to have his hands full, Cantona, I reckon, soon, because I think Gagzella will catch these 2 up pretty quickly, although Cantona looking the more comfortable driver. Oh, when he gets on the curb, I thought he was going to spin that, but he looks more comfortable than Fiddick at this moment in time. Fiddick looks like he's struggling a little bit to get the nose in. Cantona, will he look into final corner? No, he doesn't. He thinks better of it, but Fiddick's got him wide. Look, Fiddick just can't get the front of the car, and it's like his tyres are too cold, and I reckon that's down to how long he was sat on the grid. But Cantona's got a great run off the final corner. Look at that, Fiddick's trying to go to the middle of the track to defend. Cantona, will he keep his foot in there? He will. He backs out of it, but Fiddick leaves him the space. Very fair driving from Fiddick. Cantona's trying to go around the outside of turn 2. He'll get the cutback now though. Watch this, he'll get a great run. Well, that's awesome. Fiddick's got a great run off that corner, so Fiddick defending very well there into turn 1. Very fair from both drivers as well.
It is indeed. Now take a look at the guys a little bit further back through the field now. That is going to be Matt Clip in P10 defending heavily off Tamala at the moment as they come down in towards the Adelaide hairpin again through Golf and into the hairpin. Visa Millie trying to make it 3 wide as well. Robert, who had a great start to his GPVWC career, is going to go round the outside. Nicely defended, and he barely gets his way through, and you don't very see an outside pass of the hairpin, so great hats off there to Robert Visa Millie, who's able to keep that there for a little bit longer. But the field is so contested And I've got to say as well that in terms of the attrition rate so far, we've seen one retirement, and that's Dewey Tapper, surprisingly. So to have this amount of drivers, over 40 in fact, at a circuit this tight, and only one retirement after the first couple of laps, is an astounding achievement.
It is, yeah. Cantona once again has got the run out the second to last corner. He's coming down. Fiddick goes to the inside to defend. Oh, and Fiddick changes lines there. That's very dangerous driving there from Fiddick. He changed his lines on the braking. Look at Gaxella now as well, round to the back of these. He's going to get the perfect run off this final corner. But Cantona once again gets a better run off the final corner as well. They're going to go side by side into turn one. Fiddick very heavy on the defensive driving. That's a little bit naughty from Fiddick there. He's got to be careful he doesn't overstep the mark with his defensive driving. Now look at Gaxella in the background trying to set up for the run off the corner. That's exactly what he's done. He's going to get a great run. Oh, he's stuck in the dirt. Yeah, though. He got a bit of understeer there off the corner, and that's ruined his run slightly. He's still got a great slipstream from both drivers. They've got a triple toe because there's a backmarker Anderson in the way. This is going to work out badly for Cantona, is it? No, Gaxella goes to the outside. This is insane already. We've only on lap 2 and already it's going insane. And Simonchik's in there as well now, so it's 4 guys battling for the lead now. Fiddick looking the most uncomfortable of the 4 though.
Yeah, and all this battling and scuffing is not helping him as Gaxella is looking more and more competitive, more and more aggressive as he stalks that Adonis engineering car of Cantona. And let's just see though what Gaxella can do. He's got a very good racing mindset upon him. He's not too aggressive, he's not too cautious, he knows when to attack and when to call it off. And in this sort of situation, this becomes, in a world of its own, really goes to the inside. And that's not what I was on about through the fast chicane. You don't want to try through there. And Davy Benham needs to get out of the way. He's going to hold up Gaxella, and oh, that is, unfortunately for Davy Benham, the worst place to encounter traffic. And Gaxella still needs to keep that slipstream on because now Cantona has become the hunted. The hunt has turned into the prey. Gaxella going round the outside of the penultimate corner as Fiddick tries to go into the sunset. And they're still side by side. You don't want to go side by side through here. Gaxella's trying to force it and barely scuffed on there. And Cantona keeps a position and allows Simonchik, his teammate, to get a nice run into turn 1.
Yeah, Simonchik's now on the back of him as well. And I believe someone spun in the final corner, Jacobs possibly.
Yeah, Tom Jacobs for the United Races team, and that's not gone well unfortunately for him as Guy also pulls into the pit lane, so the car's now starting to maybe get into that comfort zone, feel like they can push a bit harder, and it just not work for them.
Gaxella now coming into the Adelaide hairpin. He's trying to go on the outside. He's got superior straight line speed as Gaxella. He locks the inside wheel though and won't get that done now. He'll get a great run off the corner though because he squared it off very well. Cantona, nothing he can do, but and Gaxella's got the superior straight line speed, and the move's done before we get into the Nürburgring chicane. So Gaxella up into second position. He can now get after Fiddick, who's, oh, can he though? Because he made a big mistake there. Cantona trying to come back at him. Cantona puts it down the inside. This is not what Gaxella needs. This is exactly what we're talking about. And a great move from Cantona there to recover from that. Gaxella, can he respond now into Nürburgring? Sorry, into the Imola chicane? He's trying to go around the outside. This is very brave, and he's done it. Awesome driving from Gaxella once again.
And again, Cantona trying to pick up the pieces around the outside. Oh, and he's done it barely. This is a Goliath battle right now. Cantona making a statement. He is not going down without a fight as we go in towards that penultimate corner again. Gaxella back on the inside. Fiddick's encountering traffic in front. And Gaxella barely gets the car straightened up. He finds a move. Simonchik is there now. Let's see what Zhirnej Simonchik can do, the Formula Sim Racing World Championship driver. The last thing he needs, though, is a teammate battle into turn 1. Cantona opens up to the inside. And look at that. That's almost a little bit of wheel banging there. Nothing too extravagant as Simonchik tries to get himself in the slipstream. But keep an eye on what Fiddick's doing, because the last thing he wants to do is get himself caught up in any battle with traffic. But right now he seems to have got himself through the majority very cleanly, and he's actually eked himself out a little bit of time there over Manuel Gaxella as the two Edenis drivers go side by side again.
You have to bear with me a second, I've got some issues.
Okay, so you've got some technical difficulties, but rejoining the action from the circuit, we've got Matt Clip there, P8, and again, Benham getting all wrong and sideways as Robert Wiesenmuller just behind in P9, off Cameron Brewster in 10th at the moment, after his teammate didn't really have the strongest start to the race. You've got 12 laps to go of the 17 here in race number 1. Don't forget, we've still got the all-important second race coming up a bit later on. But back at the very forefront of the field then, it's still 3 seconds now back between Fiddick and Gaxella. It was Simonchik there, P3 now, as Cantona slips back a little bit, around 0.5 of a second away through sector 2.
Yeah, all sorted now. Apologies for that, not quite sure what happened there. But yes, Fenders 3s as well. Caught up to the back of these very quickly, obviously with them battling as well, and it's basically the top 5 now who've got any chance of winning this race, because Martin Palmer was actually doing a really good job in 6th position. He's basically 11 seconds behind now. Carlos Lopez just behind him. The Smarty car seems to have dropped backwards of Mebius. He was running in 8th position at one point. He's dropped back down the field.
And take a look at Gagzella. Now this is not what he needs as well. Simoncic has got a great run as they come through then through turn number 4 of golf, and I don't think he'll be anywhere near close enough to make a manoeuvre. But even so, Gagzella again with a bit of a lock up there into turn 5, and Simoncic couldn't unfortunately make anything of it. But taking a look back here then, Jack Nicholls in P12 is attacking former championship contender Ari Neiman, and it was him and Gagzella at the forefront of the field at the start of the season, and unfortunately Neiman's progress got seemingly halted. And now he finds himself battling here with Jack Nicholls for P12, who goes a little bit too risky on the curbs, and exactly what Lee was talking about. You cannot attack these curbs as the weather seeming to take a turn for the worse. The clouds turn into a bleak grey colour.
Yeah, a bit of contact there as well between Lopez and I think it was Martin Palm at the time, or maybe even Matt Clip, but Lopez has lost a few places there. Just looking at Gagzella, he's still lapping pretty quickly. It looks like he's not pulling away from Simoncic as such, but he's actually still lapping exactly the same as Fiddick up front, so the gap remains at 3.2 seconds. So I think if Gagzella could get a clean run and go at his own pace, he could catch Fiddick, because Fiddick's not exactly, blitzing the field with his pace, but Simoncic's doing an awesome job. And we mustn't forget, and someone's front wing's off. Who's that? That's not no, that's not the lead of Fiddick. I thought it was Fiddick's wing there. I think it's a back marker's front wing. But Fiddick's still going strongly up front, but Simoncic looking the strongest of the three at the moment on lap time. And they're all exactly the same lap time the last time round, pretty much by half a tenth. And Gagzella gets it wrong out of the turn 1, and that gives Simoncic. But look at the speed of Gagzella. The top speed of Gagzella is absolutely insane. It's about 5 or 6 mile an hour faster than anyone else. Will Simoncic be later on the brakes? Yes, he will. And that moves him up to second position. Now they've got to stop battling and get after Fiddick if they want to win this race.
Exactly, and Simoncic playing this very nicely though. He wants that rear gunner support. However, Cantonen's a little bit too far off to be that at the moment. He's just been overtaken there by the second Smarty car of
Simoncic, sorry, gets the tank slapper there. Sorry about that, Lynn, but Simoncic gets a massive tank slapper and he's gone wide out the Nürburgring and get a massive tank slapper on there. That let Gagzella back through again. But these two battling, it's only benefiting Fiddick.
It is indeed, the gap now extended to 3.6 seconds, so about 0.3 of a second since we last checked on that gap as well. And talking of gaps, let's take a look back at what Mr. Cameron Bruce is doing in P10 at the moment, still trying to attack Robert Wiesemuller, who's had a tremendous start through the field. He tries to set his sights there on Lopez, who started this race 2 places below where he currently is in 8th position. So a nice little gaggle of cars there joining away, but look at Cantonen, who's actually catching his teammate now. I've got a nice 4-way train. I never thought I'd see the day where there was a queue of cars behind Gagzella.
Yeah, the Freeze has got a great... he passed him in the middle sector, he did Cantonen. Cantonen's trying to come back into turn 1 now. I don't think that'll quite work out, but he might get the run off the corner if he squares it off nicely, which is exactly what he's done. So he's going to get a nice slipstream down his back straight now. Gagzella once again goes wide off turn 1, but this time it won't cost him, I don't think, into Adelaide Hairpin. No, he's still... And he took quite a lot of time out of Fiddick in that final sector, actually. He's now 4.9 seconds. It's gone up this lap, obviously, with the battling. And De Vries trying to defend on the outside. He does it quite well, and will get the run off the corner, so I don't think Cantonen will be able to do anything into the Nürburgring chicane. And no, he doesn't. But Gagzella in clean air is faster than Fiddick. It's just the fact that he can't break Simoncic.
Yeah, he is indeed. And battle for 8th position as well there, as Lopez and Matt Clip get very up close and personal, almost bump drafting as they approach the very first of the fast chicanes here at Magny Cours to go to the inside, and you've got to be so careful through there. Going side by side would be a death wish almost, as Matt Clip realises that, holds his line with some sheer aggression, and leaves Carlos Lopez scratching his head a little longer as how to get past.
Yeah, Clip looking pretty good in defensive, but Lopez looking very quick actually. He's in a 25.3 on his last lap after recovering, and he's straight onto the back of Clip. So I think we could see Lopez at least in 6th position after this, obviously. After he passes Clip and Palm, he's very quick, and he's almost as quick as the leaders actually. Fiddick only does a 24.7 that time round. Gagzella does a 26.4, so he lost obviously a lot of time on that lap. I think that was... he does a 24.5. So it was 0.2 faster than Fiddick, and that's not really enough. He needs more if he's going to catch him. Simoncic was a 24.1, and he's right on the back of Gagzella. So Simoncic nearly a second, 7/10 faster than the leader. So Simoncic could still win this if he could get past Gagzella and take out a 0.7 of a second lap. He could still catch him.
He could indeed, as Cantonen again in towards the Adelaide Hairpin. Very sleek move with a cutback, and he's played that perfectly as he pulls alongside. Still De Vries will not surrender as they go through the chicane. Surely they cannot go side by side through here. Cantonen won't give up, and that is a very dangerous place to try and make a pass, and Cantonen does it. Stern stuff there by Cantonen. And still, he holds off De Vries a little longer, but I can't see De Vries fading away anytime soon. He'll stay with him for the foreseeable future. The rest of the field spreading out a little bit now, whilst our focus remains on our leaders. So a quick run through of the top 5. It's Fidek, Gagzella, Simoncic, Kantonen, and Sven De Vries. We've got Martin Palm 6th, Matt Klipp 7th. Pulled away a bit now from Lopez, Brewster 9th, and Ari Niemanen still in 10th position.
Yeah, it's the top 10 is only covered by 22 seconds, so it's still pretty close. I'm just going to check the lap times this time by. So Fidek comes over the line now and does a 24.5, 2/10 faster than his previous lap. Now Gagzella comes across 24.2, so he's taken another 3/10 out in that lap. Simoncic 24.3, so they're both faster than Fidek. But the problem is, and this is working to Fidek's advantage, is these two just can't stop battling. And the 4.5 second gap that Fidek's got is not because he's fast, or faster than Gagzella and Simoncic. It's purely because he's on his own out front, and this is exactly what we said he needed. He needed a clean air to run at his own pace, and that's exactly what he's doing. And Simoncic, in some respects, is ruining the race for himself and Gagzella, because they could probably have drafted up to Fidek earlier on, but because of all the battling they've done, it's given him a 4.5 second lead now.
Yeah, it's not exactly help either two of these drivers as they approached Tom Jacobs, and not a sight we're used to seeing. And look at that, Simoncic is ready though, isn't he? He wants to try and get any advantage he can. He's just playing the ultimate opportunist card right now, waiting, biding his time. He can stay with Gagzella, he knows that. That much is like evident, we can see that in the driving style. And Gagzella again gets that corner all squirmy and wrong. Simoncic trying to go underneath, Gagzella holds his line, and again, somehow makes up for it and comes out with an advantage.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to take any time out of Fidek this time. I'll check the lap times again, obviously, but I'm just watching Lopez as well, who got a great run into the Adelaide hairpin on Matt Klipp. Matt Klipp squeezed him out, and Lopez got on the curb, and that's put a gap of about 1.5 seconds to Matt Klipp and Lopez again now, which has basically ruined that fight again. Lopez just can't get past him. I reckon he could get up into 6th position if he could get past Klipp. So the lap times this time around, Fidek sets his personal best, a 24.4. Gagzella does a 24.9, so they've lost a lot that lap, obviously, with the battling once again and both making mistakes. I think Fidek's got this in the bag now. As long as he can just bring it home, I don't think they can catch him on pure pace anymore.
No, definitely not, as Niemanen made a pass earlier on there on Cameron Brewster. Unfortunately, Brewster was able to take it back again, so great fight there by the United Racers team, as they've still got one car inside the top 10. It's going well for them at the moment, but again, a little bit of a train there forming. Lopez, Brewster and Niemanen, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out in the final few laps of this one. Brewster again now to the outside of Lopez.
De Vries in P5, sorry Liam. De Vries has crashed at the Nürburgring chicane, got on the curb too much I think, and he's lost his rear wing, he's spun in the track again, so that's 5th place De Vries. He's going to be well down the field if not out of the race with that damage, because he's damaged the suspension, the rear wing, so unlucky there for De Vries. And Simoncic's just had a go at Gagzella out of the Imola chicane, the other chicane, and Gagzella defending heavily on the inside, and that's some contact between them two as well, so possibly some damage on Simoncic's front wing there, and maybe to Gagzella's rear end, so Fidek once again looking the stronger.
He definitely is, and take a look at Gagzella as well though, and still it's scarily close how they get to that wall. It really does make your heart race, and you almost cringe up a little bit, because you can almost anticipate a crash going in towards that final corner wall. Somehow both drivers with nerves are still there avoiding it. Simoncic does get the car lined up a bit better, but we all know Gagzella somehow has alien top speed as he comes down here, and that may be a saving grace as the two cars separate out as they go in towards the Adelaide hairpin.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that's saving him in some respects, because Simoncic is definitely the faster driver. In fact, I think he's the fastest in the field, and we know he's from the World Championship Formula Sim Racing Series, I believe. So he's a very quick driver, very capable driver, and I think that says a lot about the strength of this field. Is the fact that we've got a WC driver in the field, and they're not able to make any impression really on the top guys in this field. Although he's having a great battle with one of the top guys, the championship leader currently, and this is excellent fun. Martin Palm and Matt Klipp still 5th and 6th. Lopez dropped back into 7th, a bit back now into Niemanen's hands. Brewster and Wiesemuller battling into the Imola chicane as well. So it's there's battles all the way through the field, as you see Simoncic once again trying to get past into the Imola chicane. He's got a good run out the corner now. Can he use this draft this time? But look, Gagzella still pulls away in the slipstream. Now Simoncic, will he be brave into the final corner? Gagzella goes to the inside to defend. So well, he's messed it up, he's locked the brake, and that's let Simoncic through. But now Simoncic's got to ace this chicane. Whoa, that's close. That is very close. I thought he was going into the wall then. But Simoncic's now got to ace that chicane, which he's pretty much done. He's got to pull away through turn 1 and get the gap up, because otherwise this is going to be a replay of the last few laps. Gaxella's setting the run up off the corner. You can see him, look, squaring the corner off, and he's in the slipstream again, and he's just going to breeze straight past him. Watch this. He won't even be... It'd be the hairpin, it'd be halfway down the straight and he'd be past him. Look at the speed he's got. Simoncic makes no efforts to defend because he knows it's pointless with that top speed. What he'll try and do is make Gaxella outbrake himself, which he's not done. Great driving from Gaxella.
It is, and you've just got to feel sorry for Simoncic. He'll be scratching his head going, what has it got to be done to make that move stick? What more can he do? He's doing everything he can. He's applying so much pressure. He's on the limit all the time. And still, it's not good enough. Gaxella's still coming out on top. And with only 4 laps remaining, Simoncic has to start thinking outside the box. The problem with that is this circuit tempts you to do that into one of the fast chicanes. If you try that, you may end up like Sven de Vries, and it's not going to end up too gracefully for you. So Simoncic has to weigh up the options here of, do I want 3rd position? Do I want to overtake Gaxella? Oh, and a little bit of a nudge there, and that's allowed Cantone and his own teammate. Here comes the rear gunner support, then it's an Edinist war call on Gaxella at the moment, so the war paint is on for the Edinist Engineering cars. Question is, can they be able to win the war, or will they go home a man down? Let's just wait and see how this pans out.
Yeah, Gaxella, I mean, he's really impressing me in some respects in this, because don't forget he's the championship leader. He's got the most to lose out of these guys. Simoncic, this is his first race, I believe. He just wants to, race and finish where he can, so he's not really bothered who's in front of him, who's behind him. It doesn't really matter to him. So Gaxella, to be doing the sort of things he is, defending his 2nd place, once again just showing that he's deserved of being this championship leader, because he's driving absolutely superb. I mean, the block pass he just made the previous lap at this corner, the Adelaide hairpin, the block pass he made on Simoncic was absolutely brilliant. I was very impressed by that, because Simoncic basically said, alright, you go in deep and I'll square the corner off again. But he didn't, he just completely blocked past him, and it was absolutely superb driving from Gaxella. Very impressive, that one. But you can see through the chicanes how much faster Simoncic is, which is basically showing, and gets a twitch on there, does Simoncic, just as I say that. But Gaxella, he's not taking as many risks through the chicanes, and why should he?
It definitely, at this stage in the race as well, you have to be so careful now. You've got to really weigh up the options, but Simoncic just taking the aggression to another level. He does not want to settle for the position he's currently in. He wants that 2nd place. He wants to take Gaxella, and he wants to show that he can be beaten. He wants to make a very impressive debut, although in some respect he's already made a fantastic debut here in the Formula Challenge. He wants to make it that little bit more special, and that just is down to racing driver instinct. You always want more, and look how close he's got through the final corner. But I think the sheer acceleration of Gaxella, look at that, straight away, and it's only a short straight. But still, Simoncic at 1:23.8, he's doing the fastest laps, but he just can't get the clean air he needs to catch poor Dave Fiddick at front, who has led a fantastic race this far.
Yeah, I mean, they're so much faster than Fiddick. Fiddick's basically just cruising around in mid-24s. These guys are in the 23s now. That's way faster, but the problem is they do a 23 and then they do a 27 because they were battling. That's why there's a 4.5 second, 5 second gap. And Cantone as well, looking pretty capable. He's just done his fastest lap of the race as well, I believe, on a 24 flat. So all 3 of the guys behind Fiddick were 6/10 faster on that lap.
Warren Bruce is in the wall, and that is from P11. And he was in a little bit of a 3-way battle there with the 2 cars in front. I believe that was Mike Schroten and probably Robert Wiesemüller, I think. And he's just got a bit too risky out of turn number 3, gone ploughing into the wall. And unfortunately for United Racers, their race goes a little bit worse. So they haven't had the strongest weekend here today. And he's cruising along, just going towards the Adelaide hairpin. Unfortunately for Cameron Brewster, it's not been the most ideal race for himself or his team. They'll come fighting back in race 2 if he can just keep himself inside the top 20. But look at the assault which Edinist is unleashing now on Gaxella. He's keeping such a clear head. He's had a race of relentless defending and somehow not made any notable errors that have cost him valuable track position or anything like that. He's kept his head clear despite having Simoncic in his mirrors the entire race.
Well, he's had a few moments, hasn't he? I think they all have. Every single driver's had a few moments at this circuit. He's lost the rear end a few times, he's locked a few brakes, and Simoncic, gets very close to him. I thought there was going to be contact then. Cantone basically just waiting to pick up the pieces at the moment. He's sat there thinking, well, I've got a feeling these 2 guys are going to take each other out, and he wouldn't be far wrong because this is now the final lap. So if Simoncic wants to get that 2nd position, it's got to be now or never, and I think the best place he can do it is out of the Nürburgring chicane in a second, because look how much he closes through there in the braking. Very good. Now he gets a good run off here, but watch the speed. And also, we've got Simon Smith to deal with for Gaxella. We'll be wary of that. And Gaxella's got traffic. This is where Simoncic is fast through this chicane. Watch this. Just look at the speed he takes through there. And he's made up a huge amount of time. Will he try and lunge it? And Simon Smith goes off the track in front to let them pass. But look at the speed that he has through there. Simoncic makes a slight bit of contact there. This is where he's very quick, and Felix going around the final few corners as well. I'll shut up in a minute and let you take him across the line, Liam. But Simoncic, this is where he's very quick. He'll try it again through it. Gexela's gone defensive for the last 5 laps through here. Will he do it again? Oh, and he doesn't need to. Simincic spins, and Cantona just avoids and moves up to 3rd position. Simincic will keep the 4th position, but that's it for 2nd place.
And that's it for 2nd place. It's also nearly it for 1st place as well, as Dave Fiddick rounds the final couple of corners. Then it has been another dream race for Simming Motorsports. He's missed the first 2 rounds of the season, but still proving he's a dominant force. Dave Fiddick wins in Magny Cours for race number 1. A tremendous job there by Fiddick. Gagzella will hold on for P2. An exceptional job there by a championship leader, proving why he does have that title to his name. We've got Cantona in P3. Good job there by both Adonis Engineerings. Simoncic takes 4th. It could have been so much more if he didn't spin. We're going to have Martin Palm, an impressive P6 there for Karyala Racing. We've got Matt Clip in P6. Again, great job for Royal Blue. Ari Niemanen's going to take 7th position. He may try and challenge out, actually, for P8 as they come across the line. No, he can't do it. You've got Robert Wiesemuller in 8th position. Schroeter 9th. And Carlos Lopez takes your final top 10 position.
Yeah, Lopez lucky to stay in the top 10 there. He actually went off and Sarpillis hit the wall in the final corner. But Lopez, he's lost his front wing on the final lap there. I think he's made contact with either Scroton or someone. I'm not quite sure exactly what happened. But he was lucky to finish the race there, was Lopez. But he definitely had a quick car. I think he could have done better than 10th position. I think he was in 8th before that accident. But an awesome race up front, though, for that 2nd position at the end there. I really enjoyed that. Simoncic just gave it everything for that final Imola chicane, didn't he? He just tried to carry the momentum through. But Gagzella put his car in all the right places, and definitely my driver of the race, Gagzella. Absolutely faultless. Fiddick won the race faultlessly and did the best job out of all of them, you've got to say, because he had the clean air. But Gagzella, just for that defensive driving, deserves man of the race from me.
It's got to be, if not just the race, but one of the most defensive drives of the season we've seen, one of the most impressive. It was relentless attack from Simoncic, and having commentated on his races in the past in FSR, I know what he can do. He's been a great force to be reckoned with. It's been great to see him come through the ranks, and to see him in GPVWC, I knew that he would be, one of those forces where drivers are going to be quite shocked by him and what he exactly is he can do. But as you took a look, it was just no match at all for Emmanuel Gagzella. He gave it everything he could. He never buckled to the pressure. As you said, there was the odd mistake there, but at a circuit like this, it's expected. It's Magny Cours at the end of the day, and the 2 drivers come alongside, and I'm sure there'll be great racing respect there. Yes, Simoncic racing hard, but it was not unfair racing. It was very respectable, very clean, and the best sort of racing you can imagine. But I still think Gagzella, that defensive drive probably was why he is the World Championship leader today. A truly amazing job. I'm always lost for words. A brilliant job.
Yeah, I think he, Simoncic and Cantona could have won the race had they been, up front with Fiddick early on and not had the first lap issues and so on, and the battling that they did. Fiddick, did the best job out of them all in some respects because he kept his head and just drove his own race and didn't worry about what everyone else was doing and just stuck to a target lap time, and it worked perfectly for him because the others, even though there was sometimes half a second lap faster plus, they just couldn't claw that gap down because they were always battling, and that's not what you need if you want to win the race. There were a few moments there, I think, where there was a bit of contact that was slightly unnecessary, but it was mainly on Simoncic's behalf. Simoncic a few times did make a bit of contact with Gagzella, but I think that's just the nature of the circuit. For example, through the chicanes, if you're braver through the chicanes, you carry a lot more speed, so no real complaints in that one. And like you say, very fair racing between both.
Yeah, definitely. And as we go into a short little warm down session, as I like to call it, after race 1, we may get a couple of interviews and a few drivers' thoughts on the events which have just transpired here at Magny Cours. And for the most part, it was a great race. We didn't see the carnage perhaps some of us expected. There were no major shunts at the final chicane. Yes, there was the odd spin here and there, but I think this is going to be one of the lowest attrition races we've seen all season.
Yeah, and that's really surprised me, actually. I really expected today to be 3 cars finishing or something like that, because I mean, maybe not in the Formula Challenge, I don't know, because I haven't driven these cars around here, so maybe it's not as bad as, say, the Super League or Super Cup cars, which people are complaining about. There are some guys in the chat saying it was absolutely horrendous, that race, but maybe that's speaking more about the race itself as opposed to the track. I know in the Super League car it's very difficult through the chicanes. I haven't tried the Formula Challenge cars. You've got to believe, obviously, it'd be easier in the Formula Challenge cars in some respects because they're going through the chicanes slower, so you've got more time to react and so on. But it's still a very difficult track in any car. I did expect a lot more retirements today, though, and to just have the few that we had retire. And it was mainly at the end of the race that people retired. There was more retirements towards the final few laps, which just shows that people were pushing for them last few positions, points-paying positions. So, yeah, very creditable drive from the entire field there. Some strange decisions from back markers, but apart from that, not too bad.
Yeah, not too shabby at all, and the best part is that we can go through this all again in just a few moments' time, and even better is that we're going to have that random number between P10 and 20 accumulated. So who's going to be starting on pole position, we'll find out very shortly. So one of these drivers going to possibly have a very pleasant surprise as they'll start at the very front and hopefully get through all of the action. But now going into race 2, it's going to be Dave Fiddick starting at the back of that little pack depending on where the number comes out. But then still, I don't think Axella's race is over yet, or his job is not over. He hasn't quite shaken off this Edinist war thundercloud that's got looming over him over the past few minutes or so. Because he's going to have both of those cars starting directly behind him on the run down to turn 1.
Yeah, I think the key thing for him now is just to get through turn 1 safely. Obviously, he's done a good job in race 1. He's only lost a few points to Fiddick, which is not going to harm his championship lead at all. He could finish 2nd or 3rd all year to Fiddick and still win the championship. That's not a problem. I don't think he will finish 2nd or 3rd. I think he'll win a lot more races, Will Gaxella, because I think he had the pace to win that one, to be honest. As did the 2 guys behind him. But unfortunately, when you battle like that, you can't do anything. And maybe in this race we'll see the same thing. Maybe Fiddick can get away while all the rest of the field start battling again.
Yeah, it's definitely the case. A few of the drivers taken to the circuit at the moment, then just maybe getting themselves back in the rhythm of things. You've got Ben Warren out there, who unfortunately didn't have the strongest race 1 that we've seen him have. He's normally been very consistent all season long. It's been great to see what sort of pace he can have, and I think just maybe every driver has their one race where it's not too keen or they haven't exactly had their best time, and Ben just didn't really get off to a fly here at Magny Cours. We'll be hoping to correct that in race 2, and this is the first race for some time where the Simic drivers have not been Siamese twins. They haven't been together the entire race. Fiddick was at the front of the field, and Ben unfortunately was nowhere near to support, but it's got to be said, one of the most consistent teams throughout the season has been Simic this far.
Yeah, I think that shows in the championship, obviously, as well. For not necessarily for both drivers in the drivers' championship. Ben did a great job at Spa, obviously. Like you say, not so good here, but he could recover from that in race 2 if he gets a good grid slot and if he drives as we know he can. We saw at Spa. I think he finished was it 4th or on the podium at one point, which was a good drive. So yeah, it's all to play for in the second race. Obviously, with the reverse grid, we see drivers up front that wouldn't normally be up front. I think this one we have to watch more than the others because race 1, you know, the pace dictates where they start. With the reverse grid, we could see, you know, multiple accidents on lap 1. I'm not wishing that we have accidents, but I just think it's going to happen, especially in that final chicane again, because it's just so dangerous. But we'll see. I mean, they kept their head in turn in race 1. I mean, the run down to Adelaide chicane on race 1 was absolutely amazing. If we could somehow, you know, get that back up and watch that again somehow, or after the race, even if people want to look back at that, look at the replay of this race, and watch the guys going down to the Adelaide hairpin. I swear there was someone 5 wide at one point into that Adelaide hairpin, and they all got through it without even any bit of contact, and it was very impressive. And that was from the midfield guys. So, you know, it's not just that you start down the midfield you have accidents. It's very clean down there as well sometimes.
Yeah, it really is. And again, another factor that we didn't necessarily take into account was that there was no rain, which is always handy. The sky turned black for a moment, but for the most part, it was completely blue, which was nice to see. It allowed the drivers to get their, you know, teeth stuck into this race, get themselves to their fullest potential, and there was no rain to shake it up. So hopefully we see much of the same in race 2, but the sky turning a little bit greyer in this warm-up session.
Yeah, we had far too many finishes for a Formula Challenge race in race 1, so we need some rain for race 2, in my opinion.
Well, you never know what's going to happen here in the Formula Challenge, and I think that's been the saying of the year so far. I've seen so many shock results and surprises going towards the podium. Drivers who you'd expect to finish well, maybe not doing as well as they should have done, and it's just been one of the most exciting series I think I've had the pleasure to commentate on. You never know what's going to happen next. The drivers are at such a good calibre, you can tell the best from the rest, and this is the future potentially of the GPVWC. These are the drivers that the teams in the Super Cup and maybe even the Super League will be keeping an eye on for, maybe even a test driver run at some point, or a second driver going into the final stint of this season or the first stint of next season. You just don't know who's going to be watching, which is what makes this series so special.
Yeah, there's definitely a few standouts. Gaxella's been around for years now, but I think he just stays in his Formula Challenge. I mean, he raced here last year, I think he was in it the year before. So he's a driver that doesn't seem to want to progress. Maybe that's not through choice, I don't know. But obviously if you were a bigger team, you'd definitely be looking at him. You'd be looking at Fiddick for sure, which I know midnight, you know, he's a midnight driver as such. I think he's their reserve driver in Super League, and that's why he drove last time out in Spa. So we could see him in the midnight seat next year. We could see him in a Super League car. The other guys, obviously, I mean, we don't know if Simonchik will be racing again. Obviously, he has commitments elsewhere as well. But the other one was Cantonen for me for the last few races. If I was a team manager now looking for a driver, Cantonen would definitely be on that list because I think he's got a lot of potential. He's new to this league in some respects. We've got to remember that the guys he's racing against have been here for a long time, Gaxella and Fidek. But Cantonen, for me, I think he's a star of the future for sure because he seems to be learning every race and getting better.
Yeah, he does indeed, and you mentioned earlier as well that Fidek is of course part of the Midnight crew, and Midnight have been such a big force in the Super League for quite some time now, and do you think that that's going to be the most ideal seat for him, that with that coaching from the other two drivers that they have, that this could be the next big step for him? He's obviously shown tremendous pace here today, he's shown he's competitive, we've seen him out in Spa of course last time for Midnight. Do you think we could see him in a potential Super League there and completely just skip the Super Cup entirely?
Well, I think last time out he was very close to Lucas's pace, which is always a good barometer because I know how good Lucas Euler is. I've raced for him for many years, and he's a very quick driver. He deserves everything he gets. Fidek was very close to his lap times, and he would have probably finished second in that race at Spa had he not spun. Because I think he had the pace. At the end of the race, he was behind me on the same tyres, the Prime compound, and he was lapping up to half a second lap faster on the same fuel load and tyres. I know I was not really on the pace there, but you know, his pace was surreal at the end of the race. I thought he was on the actual Prime tyres, which obviously are faster. He was actually on the Prime tyres, so he was very quick at the end of the race. I was very surprised by that. So yeah, he's definitely got potential in that respect. And he would have finished second in that race had he not spun. And I know how gutted he was because he felt he let the team down, but to me, I think they replaced Alex Cooper with Fidek to try him out because I don't think they were fully happy with what Alex Cooper was doing with that car. Hopefully Alex will get himself sorted because we know how quick he is as well. But yeah, I mean, it just shows even Alex Cooper. I mean, he was one of the top drivers in Super Cup last year, winning races. Even he's not safe in the top league because if you don't perform, you don't get to keep your seat, and that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, definitely, and as we have just 2 minutes now left in this warm-up session, a few drivers setting quite alarming times. You've got Jonas Simoncic, who's still finding himself maybe a little bit more drive than last time as he goes, he's definitely overdrive there as he pirouettes himself coming out of the chicane, and that's not the most ideal way to end the qualifying lap, but still 1:24.5 in this warm-up session, 1.4 tenths quicker than Martin Palm. None of the other big guns have really ventured out onto the circuit at this stage. They're all just maybe trying to warm down, get themselves in the rhythm again, because you've just come out of one massive race for you. This could have been a very good one, it could have been a bad one. You've got 10 minutes. The last thing I'd want to do personally is get back out on track and try and correct the errors, because it will just make me try and focus on it more going into the race. I'd rather cool down, get yourself a drink, go to the toilet if you need to, and then get yourself in a fresh mindset for the next half an hour or so.
I think it entirely depends on how race 1 went as well. If you won race 1, like Fidek did, you've got no reason to go out, have you? Because you won that race, you know what to do, just stay in the pits, chill out for 10 minutes like you said, you're happy with what you did in race 1. But if you, say, finished 15th, but you feel like you had maybe a chance of a podium, then you go out on track and you try and find some things. You use every time available. If you're not on the pace, you have to use every single minute available. And that's the idea. You've got to be able to use every single second and minute available to you to be able to find these things. For example, you might have tried something in race 1 that didn't work, so you might revert back in race 2, but you have to test it out to make sure you got the feel for it again. Fidek would just sit in the pit lane right now, maybe do one out lap just to keep his eye in there for the start, or practice his start again or something like that. But you wouldn't be working too hard if you were Fidek. Just getting back to something you said a minute ago about would he fit into the Midnight team. This is who was we talking about at the time? Fidek, sorry. Yes, because obviously they're a championship leading team. He's testing for them and obviously learning from them as they go. Every time they win a race, he learns something new because they would have learned something to win that race. He learns how the strategies work. He learns how the setups work. And apparently I've heard he's very good with the setups, which is also a very good thing to have behind you in any series. Even if you're in the lowest series, as Formula Challenge is in GPVWC in some respects, you're good at setups and you have a good knowledge of setups. You can take that to a team who's not necessarily that good with setups and become a major part of that team. So yeah, even Fidek, who's a test driver at Midnight, he's playing a vital role in their championship success.
Yeah, and do you think it could maybe be working the other way? I mean, there's no obviously guarantee it's going to be a massive impact as it was perhaps for Dave helping them as such, but do you think they'll be learning stuff in a Formula Challenge since the race it does come a few days before, that maybe, okay, the track, the drivers are struggling through here and here, maybe we need to try and get a setup or listen to what Dave's saying, how the challenge car works? Possibly. I mean, the speeds vary so much that it's hard to gain some sort of lap time in comparison or anything like that.
obviously the thing you do look out for in these races, and it's something I look out for. If I'm sat here now thinking about Thursday, I look at the way the cars are racing together, things like that, and I think, right, that's a good place for overtaking because they can't get you back in the next corner. And I mean, we saw Gaxella a minute ago putting his car in all the right places, so you can learn things from that. Anyone can learn from that. But the major thing I look at in this is the actual track temperature and the actual track weather, because usually it's similar across all three races in some respects. So it's good to see that we might have a dry race on Thursday in that respect.
I should say you haven't jinxed it. As we
Yeah,
go in
definitely.
towards the race then, we've got a new pole sitter. In fact, as we quickly just take a look, it is Daniel Beck for DSR Racing. We've got Jack Nichols lining up in P2 for GRT. Ben Warren starts in a much more competitive P3. We've got Mikko Jakkonen there in P4. P5 there, Lewis McGlade. 6th place for Matt Richards. 7th, Carlos Lopez. Schroten 8th with Wiesemüller in 9th and Ari Niemanen running out your top 10. Matt Clip 11th, Martin Palm 12th. Then Simoncic, Oskari Kanternen, Emmanuel Gagzella and David Fiddick starts in P16. The rest of the field will start where they finished last race, but top 16 reverse. Fiddick is not starting as low down as he could have done. He starts right behind, more importantly, Gagzella as well, so he's got a chance perhaps, it's not guaranteed, but perhaps to maybe capitalise on an error. It's not like these guys have got a clear track in front of them now. Don't have just them and the tarmac. They've got a load of cars in front. All of them have got racing credibility. You've got the two Edinus engineering cars. We've learned what they can do in race 1. If one of them perhaps block Gagzella or Gagzella gets himself into a bit of a scuff, I don't see why Fiddick can maybe reap the rewards of that one.
Yeah, Simoncic, you got to put your money on in some respects. If he can get a good start and get away, I reckon he'll win it because he's very quick. He was very quick in race 1. But Gagzella, I don't think he'll take as many risks. Although I said that at Spa, and he went up about 10 places in one lap at the beginning of race 2. So, I don't know. Fiddick's got a lot to lose. Gagzella's got a lot to lose. Fiddick's got to go for it. He's got to get in front of Gagzella and try and get as many cars between him as he can, and hope that maybe Gagzella, like you say, battles with the Edinus cars, because if Gagzella gets through and finishes on the podium, that's not good for Fiddick.
No, definitely not, and there's only one way to find out how this race is going to pan out, and that is to wait for Daniel Beck to bring his DS racing car back to the start-finish line. He's got Nichols tucked up behind him at the moment, and it may be a good idea to just back up that pack. We saw how much of an effect it could have had on Dave Fiddick last race as they're going towards that final chicane. The clouds are looking grey, so hopefully there's no little sprinkles of rain, but the field now making their way down, and it is a much more bunched up field from what we saw in race number 1, as Beck will line his car on the pole position slot. Nichols sits alongside him. 3rd place, Ben Roran. This is a perfect time to him to make up for race number 1 and get himself in perhaps a good podium to maybe even a race win here in the Formula Challenge.
Yeah, I'm going to watch the back. I'll keep an eye on Fiddick and that, obviously, if you want to call the shots at the front. I'll keep an eye on Fiddick and Gagzella for these first few corners. Just keep an eye on what happens with them.
That sounds like a plan. Teamwork's always the way forward.
Yeah, definitely. It's very difficult, especially with this number of cars, isn't it, to keep an eye on it, but we'll try our best.
So the rest of the field lining up, then we await the arrival of those all-important red lights. The drivers sat there waiting in anticipation, the adrenaline starting to rise along with the pressure. This could very well be the turning point in the championship for a few of these cars here today. They need to get themselves off to the best launch possible. Let's just wait and see what happens then, as we now have 2 red lights. We've got the 3rd. Now the engines start to rise and the adrenaline with it. We're away at Magny Cours. A great start by Nichols. Becker slumped off the line. Warren trying to pull along the outside into turn 1. He has to back out of that one, unfortunately. Jack Nichols goes into the lead. There's contact back there. And I think that's just with a few cars. The rest of them managing to somehow avoid it all as they shuffle their way through the opening couple of corners. De Vries is involved in that, I think, the Smarty car, as they make their way down in towards the Adelaide hairpin. Plenty of shuffling about there. Gagzella and Fiddick side by side there, Lee, if you're keeping an eye on that one.
I am indeed. Our 2 championship rivals side by side. But was that Mike Bell going down the middle? Yeah, Mike Bell trying to take cars, and he's took someone out. Simoncic's lost his rear wing. Mike Bell's took Simoncic out. That's a huge accident in the Adelaide hairpin there. That was Mike Bell being far too ambitious on the brakes there, and he's taken one of the potential race winners out. That's Simoncic. But that's allowed Gagzella and Kantonen's through to 5th place already. So that's awesome from Kantonen. So he's looking very strong. Gagzella into 10th. Fiddick's in 13th, so not a good start for him. Yeah?
Unfortunately not, and you can tell already there. So Joseph maybe looks for a little cheeky move for P27, but back at the very front of the field, it's Nichols that leads from Daniel Beck in 2nd. Warren still haunting in P3. P4 now for Kanternen, as he overtakes himself from Ari Niemanen, and we've got Martin Palmer and Wiesemüller there. The German battling away, holding off him at the moment as they make their way down into the final few corners. Gagzella attacking Yakinen there. We've got Gaia there as well, who's making some impressive passes during race number 1. Gagzella, though, showing him how it should be done as they end lap number 1.
Yeah, Gagzella up to 8th position now, so he's had a good start, and obviously Fiddick not so good, but he's in the 11th position, fighting with James Kirk and Gainer. But coming through turn 2, Cantona now goes up to 3rd place because someone's off in the gravel. That's Daniel Beck there, our pole sitter, off into the gravel, into 7th, 8th position now. But Cantona looking to take 2nd position from Ben Warren. Jack Nicholls out front by a good, 2 seconds, something like that, so he's had a great start.
Yes, indeed, and look at Cantona then coming through the inside line. He's trying to do the hairpin, he's got the run. Can Ben get the power down earlier through the outside line into the first of the 2 fast chicanes here today? Warren can't quite get that down, I don't think. I think he's left it too late, and Cantona easily sets that head in his car back up front. And you said you were impressed by Cantona in race number 1. His race number 2 is surely able to follow suit. 2nd position after laps.
Fiddick's just had contact with Weissmuller in P8. He's just maybe damaged his front wing there, or suspension or something. He's had a bit of contact there in one of the hairpins, so not optimal 2 laps for Fiddick. He's up to 8th position, so he's done a decent job. Gagzella just in front of him, looking pretty cautious, it has to be said.
Yeah, definitely, and you can take a look at what Gagzella's doing there. Weissmuller trying not to let him go without a bit of a fight, but there's not much you can do as they make their way down in towards the final few corners again. This time, Fiddick wants a bit of the action. He wants to try and show Gagzella anything you can do, I can do better. As he goes into the penultimate corner, outbreaks himself a bit. He's able to hold the position and get right on the back of Gagzella once again.
Yeah, he's trying so hard, isn't he, to get on the back of Gagzella. He knows he's got to do that. He's gained 3 positions in that 1 lap, so Fiddick trying very hard. Definitely, he's going to have a run on Gagzella in a second down his back straight, but we know how quick Gagzella was in a straight line, so we'll have to see how that works out. He's safe in 7th at the moment though, because he's pulled away from Weissmuller, but up front it's still Jack Nicholls, but Cantona's hunting him down now pretty quickly.
It definitely is. They've got to be very careful now for Nicholls. He knows what Cantona can do, and if you just take a look from the rear wing view of Jack Nicholls, unfortunately it's not looking the most inviting thing you'll ever see. He's got a lot of hungry cars there who are hungry for a victory, and you can just see Cantona's reeling him in right now, and it's a lot quicker as Nicholls goes wide. Big slide there, and Cantona just going to be smiling inside his cockpit. He knows how much time he can get outside of the commentator, and right now Cantona could be in shape for a first win here.
P5, Gagzella got the chicane wrong, and it's allowed Fiddick alongside, and Fiddick takes 2 cars in one manoeuvre. Brilliant move from Fiddick there. I hope we're watching that. And off in the distance there, that's Martin Palm. So Fiddick, he's got a chance to take Palm on the exit of this corner as well, and he gets a little touch from Nyman in behind. This is going to give Gagzella the run, but they're side by side. And Gagzella's off, and that's him out, surely. This is disaster for Gagzella.
Yeah, he's on his back there as they come down, and that is not what Gagzella needed. I said this at the start of the day, leader. It's that stage in the championship. Mistakes can cost you a championship. Pressure gets to anyone. You said it yourself, and Gagzella, we're not too sure if it was his fault or Ari Niemanen's, but either way, that is seemingly his race over.
I think that all started back at the Nürburgring chicane with Gagzella getting the chicane wrong. He ran wide and let the 2 cars behind get a run on him, and obviously that just carried on then.
And you're trying
to him with the chicane. Sorry, Louis trying to tell us something there. But Cantona has taken the lead. Obviously, Jack Nicholls in 2nd. Ben Warren trying to get that inside of Nicholls. Slight bit of contact there, but I think he's done it. No, he hasn't. Good run off the corner from Nicholls there. Actually, he's getting a slipstream of Cantona again. So Nicholls going well in this race.
He definitely is, and I wonder if he can maybe just hold on for the next laps or so. But Cantona right now has got himself into the lead. He's done a nice job, as we're saying. If he can win from there, I'll tell you what, Cantona is going to be on a lot of people's target lists, almost as much as Gagzella. He's only been in this series for a few races for Adonis now, and he's done such an impressive job in the time he's been here. And if he can get himself a race win right now, that'll be making a bold statement to the other drivers, not only in this championship but in this community overall. Nicholls not letting him go without a fight.
Yeah, Gagzella comes out the pits after a rear wing repair. He's in 32nd position. So that's him going to have to. In fact, I think he's back now. He's in 32nd position, so he's got a lot of work to do in this race if he wants some points. But Cantona not pulling away as fast as I expected him to. Nicholls seems to be able to stick with him, which has surprised me a lot.
Yeah, definitely, and you can see as well, the only other driver joining them currently is Ben Warren. All of those drivers separated by just 0.8 seconds, and Warren, as Anderson having to get out of the way there carefully, but make sure there was no contact. There's a bit further behind. We've got another battle pursuing. That's Dave Fiddick attacking Martin Palm. This is vital for Fiddick right now. He knows Gagzella is nowhere to be seen. He needs every point he can get. It's times like this now, a bad race run for Gagzella, good race 2. Good race 1 for Gagzella, which Fiddick won, and a bad race 2. Fiddick now needs to get the best race 2 he can. A victory will be ideal. I can't see it personally happening, but as long as he can get himself a few more positions, again, another healthy chunk of points taken out of our championship leader.
I can see it happening because Fiddick's on a mission here and Kantonen is not getting away up front. Kantonen needed to get away now while he's got the clear air, but Nichols is sticking with him, and no disrespect to Jack Nichols, but he's not the fastest driver out there at the moment. Fiddick will just cruise up to the back of Warren will let him through, and that'll be him in 3rd position, and Nichols is off the circuit now actually, and that's going to cost him time, and Warren will come through and take 2nd position, but Fiddick, I can see him winning this race. There's still plenty of time left yet.
Let's wait and see then, and again we just kind of maybe disputed that claim as well, that the Ben Warren in P2 after overtaking Jack Nichols is Fiddick's teammate, so that's going to play into his hands even better in terms of the drivers and the constructors right now. So Simic looking very, very strong, and the Siamese twins are back again, so they're right by each other in race 2. I know it was too good to be true at some point, but Kantonen still leading at the end of lap number 5. We're about 30%-ish into this race right now as Tom Jacobs going much stronger than race number 1. He's in currently P17 in front of the second Storm Racing of Adrian McNaughton. Adrian definitely pushing on though. He does not want to have a second dull race. He wants to get himself in those points and get Storm some retribution. But right now to do so, he needs to pass Jacobs. And with a car which isn't exactly the fastest through this straight, it's going to be difficult. Let's see what he can do as he comes up towards the hairpin. And he can't get anything to go through there this time.
No, I'm just watching Kantonen's lap times. Kantonen put in a 24.8 last time round, which is relatively quick. You'd expect him to be a bit quicker than that though to get away. Warren's still sticking with him in some respects, but Kantonen now showing some sort of pace to be able to get away up front, and this is what I expected him to do when he got up there. Nichols running very wide through the Imola chicane. In fact, both Warren and Nichols running wide. This is going to allow Fiddick a run on both of them into the final corner. This could get a bit tasty. What will Warren do? Warren sticks to the inside. Nichols goes back into the slipstream to try and get a run into the final corner. He lunges down the inside. Warren, will he close the door? Yes, he does, and that's worked out worse for Warren. Fiddick gets through unscathed, so Fiddick up another position into 3rd place, and he'll get a run on Nichols down this main straight, and he will also carry the speed for turn 1, I would have thought. And he's only 4 seconds behind the leader now, so if he can get past Nichols early and then start putting in some hot laps, we've seen the pace Fiddick can run at. It's similar to Kantonen's, but Fiddick's now got the run on Nichols. Now we'll expect that he'll just breeze past without any such problems really. There he goes to the outside, but look at the superior straight line speed just like Gagzella had, and there he goes, and Fiddick into 2nd position. Nichols tries to respond, but he's got nothing to respond with really, unfortunately.
No, and if you take that as another battle forming just there inside the top 10, that's going to be between Carvalho and Richards. Richards on the outside trying to defend in towards Adelaide. Oh, he's lost it completely! And that is not something we've seen all race. He's able to get it going again. Luckily, no other cars involved, but I was watching you on board of that. The wheel just snapped away from him. And I haven't seen a driver do that in the race. I saw it once in the warm-up session, but not in race 1 nor race 2 until now. So, a very obscure incident there, and that has cost Carvalho 3 positions.
Yeah, it was unlucky there. He just locked up the rear diff, I think, on the or the rear brake bias was the brake bias was too far rearwards, sorry. And it spun the rear end round, but a lot more retirements in this race so far. We've only got 33 guys running at the moment. Gagzella up to P30. I still think he can get some points. He's only a minute behind the leader. I know it sounds a lot, but he's only half a minute behind, say... Actually, yeah, he's got half a minute to make up the 22nd position, so it's going to be difficult to get some points. We're going to need some more retirements if that's to happen. The first laps where Fiddick and Kantonen are 1st and 2nd, Kantonen was nearly 2 tenths slower than Fiddick. Now this is Fiddick's first clear lap where he doesn't have to overtake someone. So we'll have to see what the gap is at the end of this lap. At the moment it's 3.5 seconds. If Fiddick took, say, 2 or 3 tenths out of lap, he could still catch him.
And look at Palmer as well now attacking Ben Warren. Look to the inside of the hairpin. Got to be careful with his braking mark. And there's a cheeky little nudge there, and Ben can't get the cart back underneath. And Martin Palm takes P4 provisionally, so now he's going to set his sights a little bit higher on Jack Nichols, who's after his first podium this season in the Formula Challenge. Let's see what Nichols can do as Fiddick's a little bit escaping up front now, you can already see, but still 3.3 seconds behind Kantonen.
Ben Warren repays the favour there in the hairpin, in the 180 degree hairpin. He tried to nudge Palm quite wide there. Palm using the definition of block pass to the extreme in the Adelaide hairpin. Warren tried to repay the favour. Will he try it out the Imola chicane? No, he doesn't. He thinks better of it. Oh, and behind that's Gaia who's just giving him a little tap there, so a three-way battle for fourth position. Palm doing quite a good job again, actually. That move was a little bit naughty, but he did a good job in race 1, he's doing a good job in race 2.
Yeah, definitely, and as the cars snake through there, just taking a look at Mike Schroten as well in the battle he's trying to get himself involved in there. There's a nasty gaggle of cars. We've got Jacobs and McNaughton still side by side there, and now battling, of course, over P14 at the moment. Let's just see what kind of pace McNaughton has, and he's trying to go back on the offensive here to Carvalho, who just made the error a few moments ago in towards the Adelaide hairpin. Now needs to be careful. Look at that long snake of cars. And still, touch wood this far, no one's made contact with that final barrier. McNaughton up the inside of Tom Jacobs, and that should be signed, sealed, delivered. Indeed it is. McNaughton makes a bit of progress. Jacobs has not got this race completely over yet. He's got Schroten now. He wants a bit of the action, trying to get to the outside to get a better run through turns number 4 and 5. Let's just see how that pans out for Mike Schroten.
Gaxella out of the race. Gaxella is actually out, so he will score no points in this race. So Fiddick, if he finishes in second, that will be a big chunk, and I still think he can try and catch the leader. They were equal lap time last time round to the exact 10th of a second. Nichols still lapping strongly in third and actually pulling a gap on Palm in fourth. Gaia and Warren swap positions, Warren down to 6th, Gaia up to 5th. But yeah, that's Gaxella out, so Fiddick is all his Christmases has come at once in this race too. He's taken some points out in race 1, he's going to take a big chunk out in race 2. So the championship's not over yet.
I was going to say, and you know what, if he got a win here today, that would totally disperse one of Gagzella's victories from a race where Fiddick didn't compete. So one of those races in the opening rounds where Gagzella took a victory, bang, irrelevant anymore. If Fiddick can get this win, as Cantona responds with a 124.382, the fastest lap of the race so far, a 124.4 for Dave Fiddick. So he may have to settle for second, but even so, a massive points chunk. And at this stage in the championship, that could be crucial.
Yeah, Palm's closed up pretty fast as well. Palm's got very good pace actually, 25.0. That's not far off the leader's pace. He's got a great slipstream on Jack Nicholls coming down into the Adelaide hairpin. In fact, forget the Adelaide hairpin, he's already passed him on the straight. So Martin Palm up into third position. Will Nicholls respond on the braking? He tries it, but then thinks better of it. And Gaia's right behind now. So Gaia and Palm's gone wide. This allows Nicholls to get the run off the corner, but he's not quick enough in a straight line. Gaia's trying to pick up the pieces as well from any misfortune for both of these two. Doesn't quite work out, but he's there ready. Nicholls seems faster in the corners though, and Gaia's got on the inside. Gaia takes a move into 180. Can he make it stick? Nicholls runs slightly wide. There's going to be contact, is there? No, they slightly love tap wheels, but not too much. And that works out pretty nicely for Martin Palm.
Yeah, it does indeed. So Palm again, having another good result for him today. Had such a good race number 1. He's looking to take a first podium here for a few races here in race number 2, and he's looking, as we say, very strong. Neiman, his teammate, not too far behind in P7. Karyala looking to really get their season back underway in the final stint. Neiman currently chasing down Ben Warren for Simic, who's in P6 at the moment. They're currently separated by just under a second as they go in towards the final few corners, and the clouds turning a bit greyer again.
Fiddick spun out of second position, he's down to 5th, he's now behind this and Warren's just behind him. Fiddick spun in the final corner, that horrible chicane, just pushing slightly too hard there to try and catch Cantonen. I still think he can get the second place back, but he was lucky to keep it out the wall there, was Fiddick.
Yeah, Nichols is still not giving up either. You can see him in the slipstream there of Martin Palm. He's got to be careful. Gaia's there. Gaia goes for the move and in towards Adelaide. Got to be careful of Martin Palm. You don't want to brake charge into him. Nichols brakes a lot later to try and sweep it round the outside. Gaia almost went for 2 positions there. He can only get the 1. Nichols unfortunately moves down a position, trying to come back in though. He's definitely not taking this one lying down. And you've got to wonder what Dave Fiddick's attitude will be like now. If those 3 cars stay together, Fiddick's going to need to be very careful passing them. He cannot lose this opportunity. He needs to get some big points. He's got to play this conservative. If he goes out all aggressive and makes another error, or even bins it into a wall, this will be potentially championship ending. He needs to get himself a massive result here today if he has any chance of catching Gagzella.
Yeah, well, he can get second place easily. He doesn't need to push too hard. As Nichols goes off and wide, that's going to allow... Oh, Fiddick nearly got a run at him then. So Fiddick can get second position. He doesn't need to push too hard for that. He can just cruise up to the back of them, take them off one by one. He's got superior straight line speed, we've seen that. So he can take the second place, and he just needs to, secure second and not spin like he's just done. Cantonen's got this one in the bag now, so we don't need to worry about him as long as he doesn't make a mistake. And he seems a very capable driver, so I don't see him doing that. Fiddick's now on the back of Nichols for P4. I'd expect him to just bide his time through turn 1, not be too aggressive, take a mid-corner approach as he's done, then get the run off the corner, and he's done that pretty well, and he should blast past him before we get anywhere near the Adelaide hairpin, which is what he's doing now. Fiddick makes the move. Nichols tries to respond, but if he's sensible, he'll just let him go because he knows he's the faster driver. And also, I was thinking about Ben Warren actually, as Nichols tries it. Nichols, be careful. That's the championship contender there. But that's signed, sealed and delivered there for Fiddick. Now he's got to hunt down Gaia and Palm. But yeah, I was thinking of Ben Warren as well. Ben Warren needs to get a good handful of points because with Storm not scoring many points today, if any at all, McNaughton's only in 10th. It'll be good for them in the Constructors.
It definitely will, and I'll tell you what, the Constructors' Championship is a lot closer than the drivers as well, so a great opportunity for both of the drivers there in Simming to get some big points on their rivals. But look at Cantona, escaped away from all the trouble here, and we've kind of lost our focus on him.
Cantonan's had a spin as well this lap because the gap was 8 seconds, it's now 3.5, so Cantonan's had a half spin somewhere as well, not quite sure where, but he's had a mistake.
Fiddick really does have a chance of leading. He's only 5 seconds off the leader, and with a good 8 laps to go, I can't see personally now why Fiddick can't get his way through and maybe, just maybe, have a shot at a win.
Well, Cantona's last lap was a 25.2, so he lost 1 second there. And the lap before that, though, apparently was the one that was he lost 4 seconds. So he's lost a second on that lap and 4 seconds the previous lap. So Cantonan's suddenly looking scruffy. So I think I've cursed him, unfortunately, with that by saying he's got the win in his palm. He can still do this. Fiddick's got a nice run on Gaia now for P3, and I would expect him to lunge up the inside into Adelaide hairpin. Gaia decides not to go defensive, pretty sensible. Fiddick, will he make the move? He should be able to, I would have thought. Yep, pretty comfortably. Gaia very fair there as well, lets him go. Nice driving there from Gaia. And that puts Fiddick up into 3rd position. He's got Martin Palm just in front of him. The gap is now 4.4 seconds to the leader. I don't think he can catch him on pure pace because Cantona did have good pace, but we've now seen both Cantonan and Fiddick make mistakes in this race, so it's anyone's really. Palm could win this.
He could well do it, and I'll tell you what as well, that last lap, it doesn't help Cantonan's drive at all that Fiddick did a 1:24.1, the fastest lap of the race so far. So whilst Cantonan's losing time at the front, Fiddick is just gaining and gaining and gaining, and now he's right on the back of Martin Palm. Let's see what he can do through here then. Obviously he doesn't want to try a move that's too risky into these last few couple of corners. We've seen a couple of spins here today already, Fiddick being one of them in fact. Let's see what he can do then going in towards the next couple of laps or so. He needs to get himself in clean air as soon as possible, or at least get himself a big healthy slipstream. Let's compare lap times. So Cantonan that time round a 1:24.6, Fiddick that time round a 1:24.4, so a further 2 tenths gone then. Fiddick now still 5.2 seconds off the leader.
Yeah, I'm looking at Cantona as well. He doesn't look very comfortable. Lewis, our cameraman today, has just pointed out as well that he looks like Cantona's going to wreck himself in a minute. Basically, he's been a bit ragged, and look, he's locking brakes again there. So yeah, Cantonan, as Fiddick now goes down the inside of Palm for P2, makes that look pretty easy. Palm very sensible. He tries to get run off the corner. I think Fiddick will hold it though into the dirt. No, he won't. Look at the straight line speed of Palm. That's amazing traction he got off that corner there. Fiddick will be surprised as we are at that. But I'm sure he will make this move stick sooner or later. But this isn't good for Fiddick because Cantona looks a little bit insecure at this moment in time, which I'm surprised at because he's got a decent lead. And yeah, Fiddick, wow, tries to shove himself back through. He'll get the run off the corner, but Palm's got great straight line speed.
This is Gagzella take 2, isn't it, in terms of straight line speed? And I'll tell you what, Palm is really going to be a tougher opponent than maybe first speculated. And taking a look back as well at what Cantonan's doing, it's very, very difficult to break that phase. I mean, I know it personally because, well, mainly I'm awful at driving. But the fact, once you get into that phase and you make your first mistake, it's so difficult to focus on getting it better again. It's so easy to just let it control you almost, let it consume you as you try and correct it and make everything better. You see you're losing time, so you push harder. The more you push, the more errors you make. And it's just a downward spiral. Cantona needs to do the opposite. Let it go, get back into a rhythm. But at this stage, it's so difficult to do.
Well, at this moment in time, it's good for him in some respects that Palm is holding Fiddick up at all. Fiddick makes the move in turn 1 and just drives up the inside with superior grip, but we've seen Palm has great straight line speed, so expect Palm to respond down to the Adelaide hairpin. I think Fiddick should just stay behind him there because he's made the mistake and Palm's got the run. Can Fiddick keep his head and not lock his brakes? That's exactly what Palm's looking for, and he has locked his brakes, but Palm also running slightly wide. Gaia trying to pick up the pieces there. I think this is sign. I think he's got this one now. Yeah, he's definitely got this position now, Fiddick. So he's into second position. That's where he needs to be. Now he needs to not worry too much about Cantonan because I think Cantonan has recovered slightly from his laps earlier on. He's started to lap okay-ish again. He's in the 24s, and that's all he needs to do to get to the end. He's only got 2 more laps after this one, and he will win this race.
Yeah, definitely. So not too long left to go at all now. Fiddick needs to try and get his game on. Currently finds himself now in front of Palm, which is crucial. 4.8 seconds back to Cantonen, and with, as you say, only a few laps left to go, Cantonen needs to try and keep himself a clear head. This race still arguably could be FedEx if Cantonen keeps making those little errors. All those little errors add up to one big error, and he could find himself in a wall at the final corner. If he's and he's so close through there as well. He's really on the limit right now. He's on the verge of a victory for Edenis Engineering right now. What can a scurry Cantonen do? Is he going to be one of those super drivers of the weekend? He's done such a good job in race 1. Is he going to be rewarded with a victory, or will it be snuck from him right at the very end?
Yeah, but we have 8 seconds covering the top 8. So, sorry, top 7, which is very close race, this one, and anyone's game is the podium at the moment, because I think FedEx's safe in second in some respects, although Palm's closing him down pretty quickly on this straight. I don't think he'll take a lunge up the inside. If he does, he's very brave. He is very brave, but he doesn't try the full lunge. Gaia can get this podium here off Palm. You've got Nichols behind, you've got Warren and Nyman all together on the actual track, so he's very close. And Fiddick having a bit of trouble there with some back markers. That's not going to help his cause in catching Cantonen, but I don't think that's on anyway. I think Cantonen's recovered now, and he's settled back down again.
Yeah, and again, it's such a crucial phase to go through, and luckily he's come out stronger. But now look at this, that trouble has not helped Fiddick at all. Here comes Martin Palm round the outside. This is going to be key, and somehow backs out of it. That was a very crucial decision. He's all over the curb, he's gone wide. Gaia goes through. Nichols is too far away to capitalise, unfortunately. But Martin Palm, right, that's the first proper mistake we've seen him make in quite some time.
Yeah, I think he tried, well, when you go into that corner on the wrong line like he did, he tried to make a pass on Fiddick, and he should have got backed out of it a bit earlier because he put himself offline then, which caused him to lose the rear end over the curb. And he gets very over the curbs there.
He
and someone's
definitely
just
is.
spun apparently, I've just heard, but I'm not quite sure who. Yeah, he got on the curb, and that caused obviously the problems what he had. But Palm down to 4th position, he can still get this podium back. He's got a good run on Gaia now, coming down to the Adelaide hairpin. We know he's got good straight line speed, so he should close up pretty quickly on Gaia, which he's doing. But Gaia's also got a slipstream with Fiddick. I think Fiddick is safe in 2nd position. He's got about a 1 second gap now on the guys behind.
Warren's in safe though.
This is going to give Palm a run. Now he needs to play better this time. He shouldn't be too aggressive into these chicanes because we've seen what can happen.
Yeah, and Warren's position wasn't safe. Neiman and dived up the inside of the Adelaide hairpin. However, he went too deep, and Warren simply said thank you very much and cut right back underneath. As we come towards the end of this race, you can look no more really than our race leader. He's done such a good job so far. Cantonen must have this in the bag. He's got a few more corners until he's crowned a victor here in the Formula Challenge. And in all honesty, I think it's thoroughly deserved. He did a great job in race 1 supporting Simoncic's charge. And maybe for next season, I wouldn't look past Edenis if they keep their current driver lineup. Cantonen will be turning in a lot of heads after this race here today. Into the penultimate corner then for the final time today. He'll round that treacherous chicane which has taken a few races in his time. But it's going to be Cantonen which is going to be fist pumping inside his cockpit. He's the winner of race 2 here at Magny Cours.
Very close for second, very close. Palm and Gaia took a lot of time out of Fiddick for that last few corners there. Nichols gets 5th, Ben Warren in 6th, Nyman in 7th, and Weisemuller takes 8th. McNaughton 9th will come across the line, and Clip and Scroton battling into the final corner for the 10th position. Side by side, Scroton and Clip, but Clip's got the position. Can he get the run off the corner? Yes, he can, but Scroton's got an even better run. They're going to be side by side across the line. It's very close, but Clip just takes it. Awesome racing throughout the field. Really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, definitely. Jacobs also recovered well to get some points in P12. Joseph 13th, Richards 14th, Lewis McGlade in P15. Javier de Carvalho recovered quite nicely in 16th. Dawei Tapa, a bit of a stronger race after the retirement in race number 1 in 17th. Miko Yakinen 18th, 19th was Tamala, and Carlos Lopez in 20th position. But what a race that's been, and surely a sign of things to come in the Super League and the Super Cup.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, the racing was great there. I mean, we had a great battle for 2nd place in that race and in race 1. Cantonen did okay up front to control it. He had a little lap, so about lap 14, where he started to lose his head a little bit, but recovered very well to take the win. Man of the race, I think for that one's got to be Fiddick, because I think he just drove. I know he made a mistake and lost the 2nd position. Possibly could have won the race without that mistake. But I think to come through the field like he did and make some good passes, I think, and also knowing that his championship rival's out, he puts a lot of pressure on you to do well then. So he's done very well there as Fiddick. But Gaia, I reckon Gaia gets man of the race for the podium, because he drove very consistent throughout that and deserves it.
It definitely is, making some impressive passes in race number 1 as well. And other than Gaia, is there a man that stood out the entire weekend for you as a driver of the weekend?
Driver of the weekend, that's very difficult. We've had so many good drives, haven't we? I mean, Nichols did a good job in race 2, but race 1 wasn't so good. Gaia didn't really see too much of him in race 1. Antonin done an all-round good job, but probably Fiddick actually. I think he won race 1, he's second in race 2. Probably driver of the weekend.
I think you've got to agree there as well. He did such a consistent job to get that Semic on the podium both times today. So you can't argue at all that Fiddick is definitely the man in control of this championship in the final few races. Whilst it may not be evident in the points, the final stint of the season has belonged to Fiddick, and you've got to wonder if you'll see if those other 2 races, this championship could have been so different. But the point stands, it's still in control of our championship leader, Gagzello, at the moment. He's only got a few races left to defend, but now we're going to wait for a couple of drivers perhaps to come into an interview and let us know their thoughts and little post-race emotions as they step out of the cockpit and into the interview booth. So while we're waiting for that, we'll just try and quickly recap the season kind of so far. We've got a few drivers coming in straight away, so first off, let's just quickly talk to race winner of race number 1, and the man who took second place just moments ago, Dave Fiddick. And Dave, almost a dream start for something for you this weekend.
Yeah, that was a great weekend. Picked up a big chunk of points, and we've been feeling confident all week, to be honest. We've got a new guy on board, Florian, who drove in Multi 21 today, and he's been helping with the big base of the setup, and he's helped us improve big time. So yeah, it's been a great weekend. Surprised I took the win. Not easy, but comfortably. Race 1, I wasn't really pushing that hard. Just basically had to defend and get out of Canton and Slipstream, which I did early on. Race 2 was just, again, mayhem, but managed to come through it. Phone's going off, that's embarrassing. Managed to come through it, and yeah, I had a little spin in the middle of the race, but I don't think I would have caught Canton in any ways pretty quick, so, you know, maximum points I think I could have got this weekend. All good.
And I think, the last time I spoke to you, you said that you came into this and you weren't going to catch Gagzello. You couldn't see it happening. The last couple of races he's made errors. You've capitalised on them greatly. Is there a slim chance you think you could maybe go for it now, go 110%, and maybe, just maybe, have a long shot at this title?
That was the aim this race, and it's worked pretty well. Quali I was pretty close to Gagzello, 1/10. I'm normally poor in quali and better in the race, so pace is getting better, which has given me a better chance of fighting Gagzello. Even when he did get up to P2, I think I still had pace, but who knows, he was fighting. But yeah, I think now, if I'm going to have a chance, this is as good as it's going to get, so from now on I'm going to be pushing. Yeah, you're going to see a lot from me now, hopefully.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Dave. We'll let yourself and Ben go and celebrate a great result for Simic.
Cheers, man.
I believe Lee has found Javier de Carvalho.
Yeah, hello Javier, welcome to the country booth. Well, we didn't really see too much of your races today because there was so much action up front it was hard to focus elsewhere, but talk us through your races.
Yeah, well, in race 1, it started off quite shaky for me. In the first corner I didn't get involved in an incident, sort of created my own one by just running wide, wasn't really focusing, and yeah, went off in turn 1, got sent right to the back of the field. Then had another incident with another car, wasn't ideal, got sent to the back of the field again. Came back up the field, dropped the car under braking whilst trying to pass, I think it was Ben Warren, and it was quite embarrassing as well, just getting sent back to the back of the field. But then, yeah, I sort of found my rhythm in race 1 after that final incident, and went up and I think got 19th. Then, even though it's not as good a result as I've had so far this season, I think it's one of the races where I've had the most fun. I had an epic battle with Mike Bell and sorry, I forgot who it was. Yeah, I'll get back to it. Then I'll just talk about race 2. Race 2 started off quite well, started going up the field, and I had a bit of argy-bargy stuff from some of the other drivers. Some of the stuff I wasn't particularly happy with. I think it was just a bit of chaos, and I suppose you should be used to it being in the lowest sort of category in GPVWC. But I had a great fight with, I think, a couple of the front runners, or the usual front runners in race 2. I know Mike Schrotten was in the pack that I was driving in, and yeah, I can say I'm happy with this result. I had quite a bit of fun.
Excellent. That's the main thing, obviously, to have fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, of
Well
course.
done on your race, obviously, and happy that you had fun. Obviously, at Spa, I think you had. Did you have a stronger result at Spa, I believe, than
Yeah.
here today? So you're expecting next race to be back up to where you were at Spa?
I was actually expecting to do quite well in this event, to be honest. Quite surprised I didn't get a better result. I think I would have been able to get in the top 10 had I not had those incidents. Next race, yeah, I should be able to try and. Uh, I'll just say I'll be giving it my best, and hopefully I'll turn up a good result.
Well, good luck next race. Obviously, we hope to see you in the broadcast booth again. Thank you for joining us, and hope to see you in the top 10 next race. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
And over to Liam.
Indeed, so yeah, again, thanks Javier. Now we're joined by Jonathan Ockerclint, and Jonathan, unfortunately your qualifying didn't go to plan with the setup, but how are your races in comparison?
Race 1 was down in the underworld somewhere. Race 2 was very up high in the skies.
So just talk us through race number 2 then, because you obviously had a very strong one, so just what was it like out there? I mean, were you just feeling more confident? Was everything flowing into place for you, or was it just a sort of knack thing?
I think I did a few changes between race 1 and 2 to the car to try and make it a bit more friendly to me. It sort of worked because the rear end wasn't as floaty as it had been earlier, so I was able to push a bit harder, and also after a couple of laps I felt more confident, so I guess it was a combination of those two.
Okay then, so moving into the Nürburgring next round as well, is that a circuit that you're going to be looking to get another good result at?
Possibly, but I don't think so, because that track haven't been nice to me in the past.
Hopefully it changes luck for you and you achieve a good result. So thank you very much for your time, Jonathan, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
And I believe Lee has found our final driver for interview.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure who it is. His name is just Flo, so if you could then identify yourself, please.
I'm Florian.
Right, okay. Welcome, Florian. Thank you for joining us. And again, not too sure. Oh, we didn't see too much of the race from yourself on the broadcast, I don't think, because it was just action-packed up front. But talk us through your races.
Yeah, race 1 was terrible. I had the start was the launch control didn't work, or it did work, but not really good. Then I was following other cars, and in front of there was an accident, and I couldn't move out of the way, so I got into it and went into the pits and was 28th or something like that. Yeah, and that race 1, so wasn't the best. Race 2, the start was working good. Was following others and made some nice passing moves. Yeah, and was pretty tight, I think, from second to, I don't know, 9th or so, something like that, was all in of a second. So in the NP3, my second race was pretty good.
All right, okay. So I sorry about that. I didn't realise who you were on the track as such. But yeah, of course, 3rd position. That was absolutely superb. Well done. Big pat on the back for that. Obviously, we saw you're battling hard for 2nd position all the way through the race, and obviously getting the better of Martin Palm at the end there. So excellent result for yourself, like you say. Race 1, that's probably explains why we didn't see much of you because of what happened. But race 2, yeah, definitely you were on the broadcast. I do apologise for that. You was on pretty much the entire race.
No problem.
So, yeah, excellent result, mate. Well done on that. What are you expecting next time out then? Obviously, podium today in the 2nd race. Do you think you can repeat that at the next round?
I'm trying my best. I hope I can help out my teammates and hope we can finish the best way in the championship. I don't even know what the next race is. Gotta look at it.
Well, that makes 2 of us, but Anyway, whatever track it is, I hope you go well there. Obviously, it'd be nice to see you up here again on the podium. Big pat on the back. Obviously, apologies again for not realising who you were in the second race there. But
no problems. It was my first race, so.
Yeah, it was mainly the username on this broadcast booth. I didn't realise who you were, but excellent result nonetheless. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing that with us, and we hope to see you up there again racing for the top positions.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. Over to Liam again.
And I think that's just about all we've got time for. So a massive thank you to all the drivers coming in for interview, and also a massive thank you to my co-commentator for today, Lee Morris, and our cameraman, Lewis Redshaw. But that's just about all the action from the Magny Cours circuit today. Don't forget, we've got 2 more GPVWC races for you this week in terms of the Super Cup and the Super League. So you'll see Lee on your cameras again very, very shortly. This time on the other side of the booth, though. But the next time you can hear both of us together will be in 2 weeks' time from the Nürburgring. Take care, guys, and we'll see you then.